did get out of bed today and eat breakfast. CBS News Vatican consultant Father Anthony Figueiredo.
Quite recently as well, he indicated that should he die, he hopes it will be quickly rather than a long period of suffering.
The FBI is looking for more alleged victims of a Las Vegas woman accused of drugging and killing 3 men in a romance scam. She's now under arrest in Mexico. CBS's Andres Gutierrez.
People born after 1950.
Here is Andres Gutierrez.
In an unsealed indictment, the Justice Department charged 43-year-old Aurora Phelps with scamming 4 older men. Between 2021 and 2022, Phelps allegedly used aliases like Sissy and Laura on dating sites like Tinder and OkCupid to lure her victims. After meeting them in person, feds say she would hit their bank accounts and go on shopping sprees.
Health officials report almost 100 measles cases in an outbreak in Texas and New Mexico, mostly among children and teenagers. Medical contributor Dr. Celine Gounder says 50 and 60-somethings may be at risk, too.
People born after 1957, but vaccinated before 1968. That group is unlikely to have robust immunity from it.
Less effective vaccine, she says. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
What if your limited inventory had unlimited potential? What if your biggest risk was not taking one? What if you could make every move matter? Bank of America's business solutions can help bring your biggest what-ifs within reach. Find out how our digital tools, cutting-edge insights, and trusted expertise can work for your business. What would you like the power to do? Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank sponsor of FIFA World Cup 2026.
Hi, it's me, your USPS Ground Advantage shipment. Just left the warehouse and hitting the road.
I know. Just got the notification.
Great. Smooth sailing so far. I'm almost there.
Yes, I know. I get all the updates.
Made it. Safe and sound.
I know.
Well, did you know I was with USPS the whole time?
Oh, yeah. I know.
Keep your business in the know with the USPS Ground Advantage service. Visit USPS.com/in-the-know.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable, a look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Welcome into WGNS and the Roundtable. I'm Andy Herzer, founder and executive director of First Shot. My guest today is Kristen Sawyer Downing. She is a TLMFT therapist specializing in sports performance. I was introduced to you by a good friend of ours, Ginger Stagg. I don't want to not thank her first. But in our conversation, you know, both of us have the heart, I believe, of building up children so that they can find success in life.
Yes.
And go through storms and get through them in one piece. So tell us a little bit about the credentials and all those letters. What does that
what does all that mean?
What does all that mean to us?
So what that means is I actually moved here probably about 5 years ago. And I'm out of California, and when I transitioned over here, nothing followed. So I went from having over 10,000 hours and on my way to getting licensed to having absolutely no hours and having to restart the entire process over again because both systems are run vastly different. And so the T is for temporary, but I am a temporary licensed marriage and family therapist, and I specialize in working in the mental health field, but my passion in my love is working with athletes.
So when I go back to that and just remembering a little bit, you grew up and you did more, you're a multi-sport athlete.
Yeah. I grew up. Dorothy Compost put me in my first cheerleading uniform, made for me. I think the pom-poms were bigger than my body, about 2.5 years old. And then at age 4, I got into soccer, and played soccer all the way in through up until high school. Was looking at international play, and the parents were like, nope. And so stayed with the cheerleading. During middle school too, I was a high jumper, a long jumper. Long distance running's always been my passion. When the going gets tough, my feet hit the pavement. And so I've been in sports, and I've also done the other side of life, which is acting and singing and band and choir and arts. And so I've got a very diverse background, all of which have passion involved in them. So
looking at that, what drew you into being specializing in sports performance?
It brings everybody together. There is something, and I know when you and I first sat down and talked, you would ask me that, and my first answer to you was I didn't know, and then I was like, God brought me here. My mom and dad, both principals, very involved in sports. Dad was a coach, brother's a coach, sister's a coach, I'm a coach. And kids have always been within our world. So maybe it's in my fiber, my DNA, but I love sports. I love sports, always have. I got asked to be the kicker for the football team my senior year. My mom said absolutely not. I probably would have done it had she not run out with a cheerleading uniform and kicked the ball. That would have been entertaining. But it's just a passion. It comes from my soul. It comes from the growth and the development that you see in these kids. It's not just about the sports. It's about the community. It's about, in honesty, I've been in gang-infested areas. I've seen what the beauty of sports can do for these kids and pull them out and move them forward into college and into the pros. And so it touches in so many areas. So
tell us what you think pulls them out. What in sports? I know my answer.
Yeah.
But you just said something very unique. What is it about sports that gives kids the ability to do something of that magnitude?
Well, it goes back to the athlete. The therapy side of me too, plays a part in this. Everyone's unique, everyone's different, everyone has their own strengths and areas that they need to develop. So if you're looking at within the gangs and those pieces, this is an area that they've succeeded in. This is an area that they've been strong in. It's probably, to some degree, because of their background, has basically made them the athlete that they are. Gangs tend to leave them alone because they want them to grow. It's actually almost like an honor to be seen within the sports world and then grow and continue because you come from them. If you're talking about a kid that is, finding their way, some kids have this God-given talent. Others push and drive, and all of it plays out in sports, but it also plays out in life. And that is probably the beauty of sports. So much of that has been taken out of what our kids experience today. So much of having to work hard, drive, build, create yourself, develop yourself, find that inner strength. And sports ingrains that in you. And it moves you to be stronger into your elder years. And there's a part of the brain that, working with athletes versus people that aren't athletes, they're geared differently. They drive, they're passionate, they're motivated. Now the hard part is when they slip hard though. And the harder and the more motivated they are, the more grit and determination, when it slips and it falls, that fall is harder sometimes. And so the beauty of sports is that it shows you how to succeed, and it shows you how to deal with failure.
So you're really, for me, now, we just talked off air a little bit.
Yeah.
I just finished my 19th season of our Winter Basketball League.
Yeah.
And if anybody has been in it, they know that I shoot warning signals to the parents and grandparents every Saturday morning when we're playing games that not to coach. There's a difference between coaching from the stands, cheering from the stand, but there's also then the coaching aspect and the athlete and how they all three come together and intersect. So let's talk about the parenting side of this.
Let's start with the parenting. So
I think I see it very uniquely different when I go and sit and watch some of my young men or women play and how the people in the stands have just, to me, lost their minds.
That would be my dad. Sorry, Dad. My dad got kicked out of more of my brother's baseball games than we would actually migrate away from my dad because he knew the sport so well that he was laser focused. And sometimes I think with parents, they don't realize their laser focus and their background in sports, and they're wanting their kid to grow, to be who they were, to be better than they were. And at times when they start to push it so hard, what they don't realize is they're coming from a great place. They want their kid to grow. They want them to be stronger, but they're not them. And the way that kid works is going to be very different sometimes, not all the time, than the parent. And so there are times, even though we are athletes, we have to be able to step back and let a coach take over. Not to say there's going to be concerns. It's so funny. There's so many possibilities that go on, but a parent has to be able to step back and let a coach take over. If there's a concern, don't broadcast it to where the kid feels like they're about ready to crawl under the stands. Take it behind closed doors, talk with the coach, work with the coaches. The coach wants your kid to succeed. You want your kid to succeed. So that brings it to your foundation. Your parents are the foundation. Your next foundation is your coach. And your coach has to be able to understand not every athlete is going to be the greatest and the best. And how do you help that athlete to grow to be their strongest self? How do they become their own entity while becoming a part of a team, which I think in a lot of ways is the biggest struggle that coaches come into, is you've got so many varying talents and you're trying to create this win, right? This goal is to win this game. But if you don't work with your individuals to play their game versus your game.
Well, I say that parents, and it's not just dads. It's it's mom and dad.
Oh, yes.
That live vicariously through their kids.
Yes.
And you know, I don't think they understand how that makes a young, especially at 5 years old, at 6 years old, they're screaming at them already.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at them going, man, all these voices are coming at them. They have a hard time just processing it at their age, right?
Yes.
So,
yes. The emotional devastation that can be done early is huge. So here's the thing, and I'll step into my therapy side of life. Systems. Everything is about the family system. In order to change something, you have to work with the system, right? And so that system then plays out on your court. And then you have a bigger system, which includes the coach, right? And pretty soon you've got this kid that's going back and forth between these two systems and getting really confused and hasn't quite developed and doesn't really know and they just want to make people happy. They just want people to be
they're looking
proud of
over,
them.
right? They're looking over at their mom and dad
great
after
job, right?
Right? Or when they mess up.
You're and there is a balance of accountability and love and compassion and building in the strength and teaching the kid, okay, yeah, you made some mistakes. All right, what do we do now?
I think you'll love my only rule, Krista.
What is your only rule?
Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
I love that rule.
And it's, I think we beat the fear into kids in athletics.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know how he came up with it. I do believe it was God putting that on my heart, that I see all these kids so fearful of trying things because they don't want to mess up and disappoint their parent.
No kid wants to be judged. And you will find you have your athletes, and I know you know the ones I'm talking about, that are internally driven, that just grind. And they want to grow. They want to develop. They want to be the best that they can be. And that is the kid that, if you're not careful, you can send them down multiple paths that are going to be unhealthy. And all the other situations too can drive a kid down to be unhealthy. But it is really important that we get excited for them. It's really important that we cheer them on. I'll go back to, I love my dad. My dad was actually probably one of the people that I admired the most as a coach. The majority of his kids, he ended up, I feel like we have multiple brothers and sisters in our world, because I think my dad adopted every single kid he coached. He went to go to a football game when they were in college, to be there because their parents couldn't. We went to a wrestling match recently, and my dad was watching this kid who won first place, and he was like, that's great. He was real proud of him. Dad walked over, laid into the kid, started telling him everything he did wrong. Oh, Mike Sawyer stands up, as only my dad does, and he's like, hey, lay off of your kid. He's like, what kind of coach are you? Found out it was the parent. But my dad said, you need to celebrate him. He may have done something that, he needs to work on, but you celebrate that kid. And that's what I grew up in. Like, my dad was always like, it brings tears to my eyes, because my dad was the one that would go in and kind of like, hey, but when it came down to it, it was also a learned lesson that came out of it. But he never was intimidating. He was never forceful. My dad always came from a loving heart, but he had expectations, and you needed to fulfill those. And so when we are parents, when we are coaches, we have to understand it is our responsibility to help these kids grow and develop without giving them a complex.
Okay, but so again, it goes back to now, to me, it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
How do you, because I mean, the thing I see in this world now, that, and we talked a little bit about it the first time we met, was everybody picks their toys up and goes.
Yeah.
The transfer portal is now big. It's down into the high school level, that they're not going to be able to tell these kids they can play at Blackman this year, but they can go to Oakland next year. That if it's happening at the college level, it'll be happening here. So how do parents weather and teach their kids through those difficult times and not pick up their toys?
You know what? This is the simplest answer, and I know it sounds character. It comes down to character. It comes down to team. It comes down to, look at I hate to pick on basketball. Look at which dream team was it where they were all so amazing that they couldn't play together because they were the I team instead of the we team. And the coach had to sit him down. I just watched a thing on it. He goes, you guys, he talked about him. He held them to the character that they are. He held them to a place and said, yes, you are amazing. Yes, you are wonderful. Yes, you are probably going to end up in the Hall of Fame. Probably all of you will end up in the Hall of Fame. However, I need you to go out and play as a team. And that coach was able to give them their individuality, but hold them to say part of your individuality is playing as a team and character. So you have to teach your kids what it is to be a part of a team, a part of being a character, and the values and the morals and the concepts of, we don't look down on somebody, we pick them up, we make them stronger. And if you can strengthen, you build a team. But it goes back to, look at some of the family structures that are going on where they themselves struggle to be a team. And so what you see in the family plays out on the court.
Oh, absolutely.
And so character, values, morals.
All the things that we in sport should be teaching.
Yes.
Let's take the family of a broken. Tell us some of the common things that you can see that's broken in the family unit with an athlete, or the most common things.
Oh wow, that's a loaded question, because there's so many different possibilities when you're looking at a family. This is the kind of twist piece of this. The things that go on in a family can create strengths and can create weaknesses. I look at Michael Orr, and where his protective piece came from. It came from his childhood. So it developed him to play for a certain position. Shortstops, ADHD, fabulous place for them. Brain works great. So when you're looking at things, you don't want to necessarily diminish fully, I guess is what I want to put in there. But when it comes to a parent, I think sometimes it's so important for a parent to know that they know best and that they are the answer, that listening and communication is probably the first breakdown. And that sometimes we're all guilty of it, get caught up in our own wants, in our own developments, in our own passions, and we press upon people those things. I mean, we can start in the family and go all the way to the government. Like it's all over. Everything's a system. Everything grows. Everything develops. Everything is a movement forward into a larger system. But listening and communicating is probably where I see the number one downfall, and the desperation to want to have your child be successful and be seen as a good person. And I don't think a parent wakes up in the morning and goes, okay, I'm going to be the worst parent that I can be today. You know what I mean? But so then you also look at, like, where did those parents come from?
We are going to take a quick break.
Okay.
And be right back.
All right.
At the Roundtable.
Premier 6 Theater on Broad in Jackson Heights.
Let's all go to the movies.
Check out what's showing at murfreesboromovies.com. Popcorn popped fresh daily.
Movies of the good old primitive.
Premier 6 on Broad in Jackson Heights.
Alright guys, if you're only middle-aged but wondering why it seems harder to keep up, you're not alone. It may be caused by low testosterone. Testosterone therapy, or TRT, can help you get back to your best. But not just any TRT, not those websites offering only basic treatments. You have to see the provider specialist at Low T Center. They offer advanced personalized treatments with over a decade of experience. At Low T Center, you'll start with a simple test and get your results in about 25 minutes. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
There are some treasures here at Bell Jewelers, up to 50% off, that are waiting to be discovered. Hi, this is Trevor at Bell Jewelers. So if you'd like to make a deal, come by here at Bell Jewelers. Just imagine yourself with a big old ring or a nice bracelet or some nice big earrings. Like my granddad said, nothing sparkles like a Bell Jewelers diamond. Your favorite piece is just waiting to be discovered at Bell Jewelers. And it could be at our 50% off treasure chest. Bell Jewelers, 821 Northwest Broad, across from Toots.
Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios, MTE serves members with more than just electricity. Their community outreach team works with schools, parents, and students to provide engaging and unique learning experiences. MTE serving to make life better since 1936.
We're at Adams Place talking with John Hood. What advice do you have for someone considering a move?
Well, I would encourage them to check out Adams Place. Come and personally see the facilities, talk to the personnel, and get a true feel of Adams Place.
I'm Terry Deal, Rutherford County's premier retirement community with all 5 levels of care. Call me for more information about Adams Place, located at 1927 Memorial Boulevard, across from Walmart.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by the law offices of John Day and AmeriCare Pest Control.
I've got pests, bees, buzzing, rodents running all through my house, ants chewing wood, and look, there's a mouse. I'm overrun with pests, but you're gonna be sure, safe and secure. It's the last rites for those pests. Call the best of the best to get rid of your pests.
893-7111. AmeriCare Services Incorporated. Call us today. 893-7111.
Let's check those WGNS Good Neighbor events. Want to remind you the Discovery Center at Murphy Spring presents Wine and Whiskey at the Wetlands. That'll be Friday night, March 7th, over at the Discovery Center at Murphy Spring. That's at 502 Southeast Broad Street. It begins at 6 o'clock Friday evening, March 7th, at the Discovery Center at Murphy Spring. Maybe you're new to the community and would like to learn more about our local history. Well, you need to come over to the one-room Ransom Schoolhouse every Saturday morning from 9 until noon. Members of the Rutherford County Historical Society will be there to tell about our local history and answer your questions. That's 9 until noon Saturday. It's over at 717 North Academy Street here in Murfreesboro. Yes, it's absolutely free. Don't throw away Old Glory. Bring your tattered American flag to WGNS and let the girls from BSA Troop 2019 at Trinity United Methodist Church retire it with dignity. Plus, we also recycle Bibles. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
We'll see sunny skies here for this afternoon with a high around 60 degrees. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low near 37. By Tuesday, sunshine, high 64. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 36.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Welcome back into the Roundtable. WGNS, I'm Andy Herzer, founder and executive director of First Shot. My shameless plug, we have our summer camp dates up on our website, firstshottn.org. We are also selling table sponsorships to our sneaker ball that we have Dr. J. And then we're also selling team sponsorship, hole sponsorship, pavilion sponsorship for the Jimmy Allen Golf Scramble that will be held on April 28th at Old Fort Parkway, Old Fort Golf Course, my fault. And then the 27th of April will be the dinner with Dr. J. If you have any questions, you can give me a call at 615-631-5312. Kristen, welcome back in. Again, you and I could probably fill hours on this.
Yeah.
Again, it's always communication. It's communication with coaches to parents, setting expectation. So I get that that's the breakdown. But when it breaks down and an athlete tumbles,
yeah,
what's the course to get them off rock bottom? And is it all three being involved in it? Coach, parent, athlete, or is it just mainly athlete?
All right. So I kind of want to just go back to finish up the last conversation we were having, because we were talking about the concepts of family systems, right? So I'm going to use a word that more people are using these days, that play out in all arenas. It's called trauma. And when you have a family that comes from multiple generations of trauma, when you have different, I call them landmines. In a landmine, you step on and you don't know what's there and everything goes bad. So what happens is a lot of times as parents, as coaches, as human beings, we step on these landmines not knowing. And it's about how you handle those with the kid and giving them the balance of both worlds of, okay, this is not okay to be this way. Let's figure out how do we move forward, which plays into your question. Like, how do you know when a kid is needing assistance? Anxiety is through the roof. You have your regular pieces that can be, let's say somebody has anxiety going into a game. Let's say somebody's anxiety is so much that they're throwing up before going into a game. That's a really good sign that somebody needs some work. Let's say, we'll call it mental strengthening, mental toughness. I think we all fight this. I fought this a lot in soccer when I played. I could play midfield all day, every day. When it came to like hitting goals, because of my processing disorder, I had the hardest time, and I put so much pressure on myself that it made it worse versus using that muscle memory. So when you start to see a kid that typically is also capable of doing something that is not doing it, that's a sign something's going on. And so there is so many aspects, which is so beautiful about performance, that you as a coach and a parent, I've gotten phone calls, and typically anxiety is the number one trigger that I get a call for. And at that point, it's about stepping in and working with the system. Now, everyone has their differing opinions as to, like, is it the athlete? Is it the parent? Is it the coach? I think it depends on the healthiness of the system and what the system is capable of doing. Like, I cannot force a coach to do something. I cannot force a parent to do something. But if I have a kid that wants to be motivated to do something, then that is what I work with. If I have a family that's open, and they're going to have their struggles because they have their set mindset, I'm going to bring that family in. Now, if I have a family, a kid, and a coach, I have the makings of a beautiful situation, because that means I get to work within the entire system to get it to find its own homeostasis within this
So
kid.
you know I'm smiling.
I know you're smiling.
I'm sitting here going, that third piece, when you say coach,
yeah,
they are so typically, I don't want to call all coaches,
right,
but are so typically very closed to not being a part of all that, I would say.
So they're the other parent, I call them. They're the other parents. You got the parent at home, and you got the parent on the field, right? Or on the court, or wherever where you're playing. But it comes back to pride, ego, I know best, which is so funny because you hear it over here too as the parent, like, I know best, I know what's good for you. And what you're ultimately teaching this kid is the only way you succeed is if I tell you how to succeed, versus going in and being like, okay, this isn't working. And you go over what it is that's not working. And then you bring in, how do we shift it? How do we change it? And as coaches, you shift and change every season. You shift when you lose somebody to an injury. You lose your dynamic on the court. If with basketball, everything is about shifting. No one is questioning, and I want coaches to think about this. No one is questioning your knowledge as a coach. No one is.
Oh, I would sometimes. I can too. No, I'm just joking.
No, but we're all growth. We are all works in progress. I'm never going to say that everyone's going to hit their absolute best. But I think sometimes coaches feel like they are being challenged, and that defense mechanism comes up with that challenge. And instead of thinking what is best for the kid or the team, it's what is best for me. And that's when you go back to, why are you here? Are you here for you? Are you here for these kids? Are you here for both? What is your purpose? What is your in this system? And then if you, and Julie Russo, oh gosh, I love you. I shout this out. Thank you for teaching me the concepts of coachability, the concepts of hard work, diligence, grit with a light that is beautiful. She was she coached the Sparks, the LA Sparks, WNBA, and went on to coach Stanford and Pepperdine, where I met her. And I got to learn so much about her, and she's now over at USC. I learned so many things from her as a coach. The number one thing she talked about was coachability, but she also looked at herself and how she interacted with these girls. And she, you know, she was a light, and God was all over that team. It was awesome. She had Christian music going on, going into the game, Christian music going on, coming out of the game. She was such a light. She still is. She's still here. But she showed me what it is to be a coach that cared, and that she was there for the team. Now, that doesn't mean she didn't have guidelines and, like, you need to follow. And so I think sometimes people get confused, the difference between, that coach is easy. Well, you got to have both sides, right? You got to have the side where it's like, these are the rules. This is what we've got to do. I need you to develop. I need you to grow. These are the areas. I'm willing to grow with you to help you grow, which is the side that a lot of coaches struggle with. And as somebody with a learning disability, I don't learn like everyone else. Never have. My mom was a special ed teacher. I was very blessed, who taught me how to learn. Taught me through song, choir. Taught me through cheer, spelling. Taught me through, sports, how to control my energy and to focus. You as a coach have to be able to put away your pride and your ego and work with your kids.
So, Kristen, you also love how I start first shot anytime I'm in a group. Yeah. And I'll ask the kids, what's my job?
Yeah.
And they will answer to love us. And I explain what love is, because I think sometimes we get it confused. Love is being able to think of you when I'm teaching you.
Yeah.
That you're an individual.
Yes.
Think of you when I'm correcting you.
Yes.
And thinking of you when I have to punish you, because all three things are love in a balance.
I'm going to correct you on the word of punish. I think that sometimes is you don't like it, but it's what the truth is. It is a word that means what I have taught, what I teach in the concepts of when we say punish. You as a athlete have a choice. When you choose a path continuously, you are choosing the consequence, because you yourself know what that is. Whether it's you get benched, whether it's you're off the team, whether it is you keep doing something and you get injured. So I always, and I use this with my parents too. Punishment is a word that is a old school terminology that we still use, and it's basically the same concept of what I just described. It is letting the kid know there is a consequence for their action. And when a kid makes that choice, I'm not choosing it. You're choosing it for yourself. I'm going to empower you to make choices. And at the point you make a poor choice, you knew what the consequence is, or the punishment, however you want to state it. And that is your choice. I did not make it for you. You are the one, and this is where cause and effect. This is where development comes from. This is where a kid understands what it is to start to grow into becoming choices as an adult, and cause and effect start to kick in. You take that away, you got problems.
It's amazing that, again, it has a negative connotation, but consequence does too.
It does.
Right?
It does.
So, for me.
But they chose it. They chose the punishment, or they chose the consequence.
Yep.
But they're still choosing it. And that is the part we have to go back to is If you want to do something, you're going to have to make the choice that yields that result. And that is on you as an athlete.
Let's shift again.
Okay.
Why did you get into this? I can see your passion. You know, I see it all over your face. You've teared up a little bit when you think of people. You are obviously just want the best. I know you're working with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
So you know, I always made fun of my younger brother. He was a college cheerleader. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
I told him that wasn't a sport, but they worked longer and harder than any of the other.
Probably can bench press more than most people. I know they can dead weight too, by the way.
Well, now he's an Iron Man, so I don't mess with him, right?
There you go.
No, so again, I messed with him. Yeah. Back in the 80s, you know, we were silly kids. I was still a kid at 18. But cheerleading and dance. Now I've grown up in the dance world because of my granddaughter.
Yeah.
And it's the same.
Oh, yeah.
It might be even worse because they're spending so much money to be a part of these teams.
So, and I'm going to this is where I'm going to bring in something else too, because I'm glad you're bringing this up, and I'm going to kind of side this in. What I am noticing with my cheerleaders, because that is kind of my main focus. I work with other athletes too, but cheerleaders tends to be my prominent right now. Nutrition. We have an issue going on where these kids are not receiving the nutrition they need. Not because mom and dad aren't trying to feed them healthy. Our food doesn't have it in it. We've got vitamin D deficiencies that are going on. We've got nutrition aspects that are not... As I heard one of my cheerleaders' doctors say, she has good vitamin D, but she doesn't have the vitamin D of an athlete. And so what I am seeing is the schools have requirements, right? The schools have kind of requirements, but these other avenues of competition don't have the requirements. These kids need to be getting their blood tested. They need to be getting their vitamins tested. They need to be getting their hearts looked at. I mean, how many basketball players have we looked at we've lost because of heart? And we need to focus on the inside for stability so that they can give you their hearts and soul on the outside and build themselves up. But we're not going in that direction. We are driving these kids. I have 2 kids that I have seen now with both of them had fractures in their spine at a young age due to gymnastics. One has walked away. One is trying to prevent it again. I have 2 cheerleaders that have broken arms and body parts, vitamin D being low. Like, you've got so much going on, and the impact on cheerleaders, the impact on their arms, the impact on their legs, their necks, people falling on them. You've got coaches that drive them, which is great. But you need to be aware when you're driving that these are younger bodies that are still developing, that are still growing. And if you push them too hard, you may cause permanent damage. And yes, we need to have like strength and honestly, like, I think that's another area that I see with the cheerleaders that I see more in basketball and other sports that they're good at. I don't see strength training with cheerleading as much as I do. Now in college, we did strength training because I was a college cheerleader. Adair Vasilovich ran our little Tushes Ragged. We would run and run and run, and we'd have to do the sprints and the run, and we'd be in the gym. I don't see that with our cheerleaders, but I see that they are putting demands on their bodies that require that strength, but it's forced strength. And what we know about forced is it's going to cause damage. Injuries. Yeah, damage. Yep. And so I'm starting to see this, and so I would really, I'm shouting this out. I would really like to see, coaches that are opening these gyms to facilitate these girls and boys to do what they love and are passionate about, protect them, require certain things, make sure that they are good inside so you can build their outside. So, yes, cheerleading is gymnasts, dance, and strength and lifting all in one at a very fast rate on a floor routine. And probably some of the most, and then, okay, well, then you want to throw in there too, dietary, where you've got a lot of that same concept that goes on with restricting of eating, because they don't want to gain weight, because if they gain weight, they're going to lose their flying position. Like, you've got so many factors that come in to cheer.
Well, we're going to take our final break and be right back with Kristen Sawyer Downey.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED, because millions of men experience it. But not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Hims can help. Through hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/joy. HIMS.com/JOY.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
First Shot, growing in Christ with life and athletic skills.
So we teach God's Word at everything we do to implant it in them so that they understand that the only way to get through the world is with God on their side.
First Shot founder and executive director Andy Herzer.
Our focus is on our inner city here at Patterson Park.
From academics to athletics, First Shot's focus is toward building a stronger, more courageous spirit to face opportunities and obstacles that our youth confront every day. To find out more about First Shot, go to firstshottn.org.
Insurance should be simple, not complicated. That's why at Rayburn Insurance, Agent Rick Hull cuts through the jargon and helps you understand your options clearly. He's committed to finding the right coverage that fits your unique needs and budget. Their team has been a trusted partner in the community since 1973. Ready to make insurance easy? Get with Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency. He's ready to help you get the protection you deserve.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Welcome back into the Roundtable. WGNS, I'm Andy Herzer, founder and executive director of First Shot. And welcome back in, Kristen. Kristen, I knew this hour was going to fly just because of the time we spent before. But, you know, as a former athlete, and then, you know, I was kind of lost.
Yeah.
After I got out of college, I didn't know what I really wanted to do. I went and basically I slung truck tires for about 6 months until my college coach says, "Hey, Andy, do you want to come back and be an assistant?" And so how do you work with former athletes so that they I would tell you I was kind of depressed.
Oh, completely. I think I mean I can speak for me. I find it doesn't go away. I find that after you have hung up your cleats, because I played soccer, hung up my track, shoes, hung up my cheerleading pom-poms, you feel like where do I go? What is my purpose?
Who am I?
Like, I've been this person, and I'm gonna shout out to Julie Russo again. She went from doing all of this amazing things and went back and went to get her PhD so that she could spread the knowledge and wealth of what she had experienced, and she's doing that at USC. But not all of us find our voice like she did. Not all of us find our place. Those that can't teach, right? Coach, I'm a cheer coach. I could coach diving. I actually coached diving in high school. We lost our diving coach, and so I grabbed the camera and started coaching people. And I think that a lot of times as athletes, we lose all concepts, especially our pro athletes. I think our college athletes and our pro athletes, we see a lot more in, especially when it comes to injuries. To lose it to an injury is devastating. You know, if you can heal and get back in it, but at some point there's an end.
The air comes out of the ball at some point.
The air comes out of the ball, and we have to adult. Some come out of it just fine and find their place. Others get stuck and they can't find, they're searching, I'm going to say searching for that next high, that next win. I think also we're so used, depending on the sport we played, like if it's golf, it's typically you and the caddy, you got one person there with you. If you're a baseball player, a basketball player, a football player, a cheerleader, you're used to having a team. You're used to having like this wraparound holistic team that's like your family that follows you and you have the support. And then you step away and now it's like you've lost your family, you've lost your identity, and that's when the depression sinks in. That's when the anxiety sinks in. The loss of worth sinks in. And we, you know, I think that we as coaches need to focus on the concepts of transitioning. I mean, even down to, I mean, I know this isn't sports, but even down to our military have this issue that when they leave, their identity is gone. And I find that like things like
it's not really gone. They just think it's gone.
Yeah. Well, but they believe it. And if you believe it, it is, right? Until you can go. And you know, it's so funny that we talk about this. I have done a lot in my life. I have my mom said, you need to just write it down. I'm at the point in my life where I'm not getting grades anymore. I'm not on a cheer squad anymore. I'm, coaching here and there, and I don't feel nearly as successful. I think that is probably one of the biggest issues I run into as an athlete is I don't feel successful. I feel like I am not nearly what I used to be. And so identity and concepts, and I miss my team. I'm so used to having that like wraparound team that sometimes it feels hard to be alone, and so, but we all experience it differently. That was my experience. Like, what did you experience? Like,
well, for me, I went right overseas to Holland, and I played in some tournaments, and my knees just couldn't hold up, right? It's they blow up, they're sticking needles in it over in Europe, and I just said, man, this isn't worth it anymore. So I went back and went down to Greenville, South Carolina, had some family friends there, and they got me a job at this place called Watson Tire and Tread, and I just I was hanging out, not really, I was working,
right,
but had no
goal.
Yeah. So when Coach called me back, it was a blessing, right?
Yeah.
Because now I'm back on a team.
Yeah.
I'm back. Now I'm out going against the assistant coach to get this player. It's all now I'm winning and losing again.
Yeah.
Right?
You're feeling
in a different way. And now I'm also now helping athletes get better at their craft. Now, it was all done selfishly when I was in college because I made it about me, right? And and it's shifted now. Again, I've grown as a coach. It's now about the athlete.
Yeah.
And all about them, all about how healthy they can come out and become the best version of themselves.
So I think that like I'll circle back to like what do we do? So what I'm looking at doing is my next steps after I get my license taken care of in Tennessee is, believe it or not, I always wanted to buy the YMCA building, and I wanted to turn it into a holistic place for athletes to go, where they had doctors that understood athletes, therapists, acupuncturists, PT, OT, like any and every concept of what an athlete needed, and somebody that had the knowledge of an athlete, because I feel like a lot of our athletes end up getting diagnosed with things that they really don't have in the mental health world, because no one understands an athletic mind except for
a former athlete.
And so but once again, that's my concept of team, right? Like I'm bringing all these people together. And I think that that is something that God gave me, was the ability to bring together. And so that's what I want to do, so that we can fuel these athletes and teach them and educate them and work with them and give them all the aspects, instead of saying, oh, you have anxiety at the doctor's office, and they said, oh, we're going to run your blood tests. Okay, come back in like 2 weeks, or maybe we'll just send it to you. Instead, it'll be like, hey, I'm going to send you down. They're going to work on coping skills. We're going to get you some pieces here. All right, let's get you in here. And we can work with these athletes to be stronger, starting at a very young age, and help the community. Create a community concept, because this Murfreesboro is a big, beautiful concept of sports. Like, it's so much sports here. And so that's my dream, baby steps. And then, as of course, there's the nonprofit that you and I have talked about. But once again, goes back to sports and that concept of community. And so we have to take and figure out, as athletes, what is our purpose? What did God put us here for? The game was kind of the vessel, right? Like, it got us to here, right? We learned along the way. But now where do we take this? What did God want us to take and do with this? And I feel like it always comes back to community.
Well, I want to give you a chance. If anybody wants to get in contact with you because they have a grandchild or a child that they feel like needs some help in helping them in their sports performance, Kristen, how can they get a hold of you?
You can reach out to me. I'll give you the number. You can reach out at 714-454-6226. If you want to go online, you can look me up. I'm under Life Performance Consulting Firm. And then you can find me on Psychology Today.
So we're going to do one other shameless plug.
Oh.
I met her husband before I met her.
I love you, Nate.
He has a food truck.
He does.
Talk about it.
So talk about family, community, and bringing everything together. So my husband decided his dream was to open a food truck and call it Full of Bologna. And he serves his mother's mac and cheese, which is called Mama D's mac and cheese, and Papa's chili, and then all these smoke and chub, Nashville hot, regular fried bologna. And that is the first of our food trucks. And we're actually looking at trying to create some form of a farm. Once again, giving back to our community where people can come and just enjoy each other. And so I love you, Nate.
Well, also, for me, I've got to experience that food truck.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal. If you ever see it out, you better go on. How can you follow Fully Bologna?
Fully Bologna.
Full of Bologna.
Full of Bologna. Yes, we are. You can find us on Street Food Finder. That typically is going to give you our location. And you can also go online and look us up under All Things Simply Southern, which is our farm name, or Full of Bologna. I think when you type in Full of Bologna, we pop up as one of two. So,
well, again, I want to thank you for your time. And we'll have to come back because we didn't get to half that sheet today. That's all I'm going to tell you. This woman is fully prepared to talk. So, again, thank you.
Thank you for having me, Andy.